So has anyone else been in a horrible gaslighting relationship with the TV show from Netflix You for like the last 5 seasons? Like, it's not just me, right? Please tell me it's not just me, because I don't want to think that I'm that fucked up and I'm alone in this. But um, if you haven't been watching the TV show You on Netflix and you haven't binge watched like all 5 seasons, this video's not for you. Go watch it and then come back to it. So I just finished like yesterday the last episode, and I've I've watched this show, and I get it. Like, I get it. Like, Joe is a bad guy. He kills people. He's not a good guy. He manipulates. He abuses. He's not a good guy. And yet, this show, the way that it manipulates you to constantly keep like worrying for him, rooting, not, I don't want to say rooting, but there's just like, there's something in your head that as you're watching it, there's like part of you that is like, oh, that's not good. Or, gee, I don't want that to happen. And then it's like, what the fuck am I thinking? This is a bad guy. He needs his comeuppance. He needs to get like what he deserves for all the things that he's done, the things that he did to Beck, the things that he did to Marianne, the things that he did to, Love was with Psycho, but still, like, everything that he has done, he is a bad guy. But somehow this show like just manipulates you into rooting for him, for not seeing the fact that he's this bad person. Like, you are suckered in to the charm and the so on and so forth. And if you haven't figured that out, if you haven't realized, like, then you don't have the oh moment in this season. So, spoilers. So the last season, basically, Joe's gone back to New York. He's with Kate. He's got his son Henry back. Things are going really well. She's rich and he's the doting husband. He's Prince Charming, blah, 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 blah. And then things start going bad for him and Kate, and she convinces him that he needs to unalive somebody, right? And then, of course, Joe just ends up being Joe, right? Because Kate is disturbed by the fact that he seems to be happy about being unable to unalive somebody, and she doesn't, she's not able to handle it, and she's disgusted by it and stuff. And then he ends up meeting Bronte, who, of course, is like just his person, right? She seems broken and needy, and he's got to save her. He's got to be the right knight. He's going to do what Joe always does in every season with every woman that he comes across, right? It's he's just romantically obsessed with her. But what you end up finding out is that Bronte and her friends have actually been setting Joe up this whole time, right? And everything just eventually comes to a head. Like, Marianne's alive. The student TA that he had that got put in jail in the last season because of him and Kate, she gets taken out of jail by Kate. They like gang up with Marianne to like take out Joe. Of course, things go sideways, blah, 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 blah. He escapes. But like, Marianne has this moment with Bronte where she's talking about how she got suckered into by Joe. You think that you're smarter than that. You think that you wouldn't be the girl that would fall for that. You wouldn't be the girl that would end up with the abusive person. He's not like that. He's different. And all the things that she's saying, you're just, is getting to Bronte. But if you listen to what Marianne is saying, they're talking about the audience too. That the audience thinks that they're smarter than that they wouldn't fall for that Joe is different, and so on and so forth. And if it's not clear to you in that moment that they're talking about you, the audience, eventually everything comes to a head with Bronte and Joe, and she decides that she's going to make him confess about murdering Beck, because Bronte used to be Beck's one of her students. And she and her friends were convinced that he had killed Beck. So, she ends up, there's like a scuffle and like she almost dies and everything else. And eventually Joe gets caught by the police and Bronte survives. And And Joe, after the trial, he ends up finally getting his comeuppance for all the people that he's murdered. They tie a whole bunch of other murders to him, so on and so forth. And he's sitting in his jail cell, and he gets a letter from, like, and he's talking about how, like, unhinged all of these fangirls are of his, and the stuff that they want him to do to them is disgusting. And he's going on about how, oh, maybe I'm not the problem. Maybe it's these women. Maybe it's, blah, 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 blah. And then he looks at the camera and he says, and he's like, maybe it's not me that's the problem. And he looks directly at the camera and says, maybe it's you. Right there, the writers are letting you know that the fact that you have had any concern, any feeling, any worry, any moment that you rooted for Joe, you were fucked up. That you are every one of those girlfriends that he took advantage of, every one of those women, you are them. You're not as smart as what you think you are. Like, you have been drawn in, you have been suckered in, you have been gaslit by Joe and his bullshit. And it's fucking amazing that I feel like this is the point of the show for the last 5 seasons, is to prove to the audience that we have this weird, fucked up relationship with the villains. And there's a line that Bronte says to him about how, something about, like, we look at guys like you, or we allow guys like you, or romance guys like you or something, so that we don't have to think about all the other men out there that are something. I can't remember what the line is, but basically it boils down to, like, we create, like, we allow people like Joe to exist, where there's like a sympathetic villain character, because it allows us to be able to deal with the fact that there are fucked up people in this world that just do bad things. They're not good people. There's nothing redeemable about them. And there is a moment in the series where there's a guy that, like, comes after Bronte, and he's like that red pill incel, whatever, and he wanted to, like, murder her and torture her and treat her. And even when she tries to humanize him, he just comes back and ends up being an asshole. And now, like, she eventually lets him go, but tells him, like, we'll be watching, that sort of thing. But it's kind of like the show is trying to show you that, like, most guys, or most people, I shouldn't say guys, but most people in this world that are bad people are that guy. There is no humanizing them. There is no understanding. They're just full of anger and hate, and they're just a bad person. They're an abuser. They're a rapist. They're a murderer, that sort of thing, right? But we want to believe that there's these people like Joe that we can humanize, we can sympathize with. Oh, Joe is broken because he saved his mommy when he was a kid, and, he just wants romance and everything else. But no, Joe is just a shitty person. And I've noticed that, like, some of the stuff I've been watching on YouTube talking about the show, people are like, oh, well, I didn't like the ending. I feel like they didn't give Joe a chance to be human and for it to come back around full circle, and he should have learned from this, and this should have been done. And it's like, no, you guys don't get it. The show is trying to tell you that there is no humanity in Joe. There is no salvation for Joe. He is just a bad person who's never going to learn, never get any better, and needed to go to jail. End of story. There was no better ending. You're trying to make it like it should be, like everybody should be able to be saved or whatever, but that's not fucking reality. The reality is that people like Joe exist, and there is no saving them. There is no them learning and becoming better. And you need to stop romanticizing and humanizing people like Joe. And it's fucking brilliant. And it's sad that there's people that have watched the show and don't get it. Don't see that that's the message that they were trying to tell you, the writers. And it's brilliant. I love it. And I'm mad that there are people that think the ending should be different, because it's not. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.